My family didn't just ignore me, they erased me. Like I never mattered, like I was a mistake they were forced to live with. For years, I tried to earn a place in that house, tried to be seen, tried to be enough. But no matter what I did, I was always the one they overlooked, the one they compared, the one they quietly gave up on, until one night, everything changed. And the same family who treated me like nothing ended up with no one else to turn to, except me. My name is Ethan Carter. I'm 28 years old now. But this story didn't start when I left. It started long before that, back when I was just a kid, trying to understand why I never felt like I belonged in my own home. From the outside, we looked like a perfect family, a big house, a stable life, parents who seemed successful, and an older sister who was everything they ever wanted, smart, confident, driven, the kind of person people were proud to talk about. And then there was me, quiet, observing, always unsure of where I stood. I wasn't a bad kid. I didn't cause trouble. I didn't rebel. If anything, I tried too hard to do the right thing. But no matter what I did, it never felt like it counted. Because in that house, attention wasn't given equally. It was earned. And somehow, I was always the one falling short. My sister would walk into a room, and everything would shift. Conversations would change. Energy would rise. But when I spoke, it felt like I was interrupting something more important, something that didn't include me. At first, I thought it was just in my head, that maybe I was overthinking. But as the years went by, the pattern became impossible to ignore. I wasn't just different, I was less. At least, that's how they made me feel. I think the first time I truly understood my place in that family was on my 10th birthday. I had been waiting for that day all week, not for presents, not even for a party, just for someone to remember. I woke up earlier than usual, sat at the kitchen table, watching the clock, listening to every sound in the house, hoping that at any moment someone would walk in and say it. Happy birthday. But morning turned into afternoon, and afternoon turned into evening, and nothing happened. No cake, no candles, no gifts, not even a simple acknowledgement. It was like the day didn't exist, like I didn't exist. And the hardest part wasn't the silence. It was what I heard instead. Laughter coming from the living room, my parents celebrating my sister because she had just won something at school. They were proud, excited, happy, everything I had ever wanted them to be for me. I remember sitting there, hands clenched under the table, telling myself not to cry, because somehow, even at 10 years old, I already knew I wasn't worth celebrating. As I got older, things didn't get better. They got clearer. Every family dinner became a reminder of who I wasn't. My sister would talk about her achievements, her plans, her future, and my parents would listen with pride in their eyes. Then the attention would shift to me, and everything would change. So, what about you? That question always felt like a trap, because no answer was ever good enough. Before I could even respond, my father would step in. He's still figuring things out, with a smile that didn't feel like support. It felt like dismissal. Sometimes he'd go further. Honestly, I don't think he's built for much. People would laugh, awkwardly, uncomfortably, but still, they laughed. And I'd sit there, forcing a smile, pretending it didn't affect me, but it did. Every word, every look, every moment of comparison, it all added up. slowly breaking something inside me, until one day, I stopped trying to be seen at all. And then there were the times when things went wrong, because somehow it always came back to me. If something broke, it was my fault. If something went missing, I must have lost it. If there was tension in the house, I was the problem. It didn't matter if I had nothing to do with it. I was the easiest explanation, the safest person to blame. And over time, I stopped defending myself, because no one was listening anyway. Even my mother, the one person I thought might understand, said nothing. She would just sit there, quiet, avoiding eye contact, like staying silent was easier than choosing a side. And that silence hurt more than the accusations, because it told me something I didn't want to accept. I wasn't just alone. I was alone in a house full of people. After a while, their voices became my own. I stopped believing in myself, stopped speaking up, stopped trying. Because what was the point? When the people closest to you have already decided who you are, you start to shrink, to disappear, to accept a version of yourself that was never truly yours. And the worst part? You don't even question it anymore. You just live with it. If you've ever felt like that, like no matter what you do, you're never enough, comment 1 below, because I know exactly how that feels. And trust me, you're not the only one. The night everything finally broke didn't feel special at first. It was just another dinner, another quiet evening where no one really talked to me. But something in the air felt off. My father was unusually silent, not the usual disappointment, not the usual criticism, just silence, heavy silence, the kind that makes you feel like something is coming. I remember sitting there, barely touching my food, trying not to draw attention, trying not to say the wrong thing, because by then, I had learned something important. In that house, it didn't take much to become the problem. Then my sister started talking about a new opportunity, something big, something impressive. And of course, my parents lit up, proud, excited, engaged, like always. And I just sat there, watching it happen again, the same pattern, the same feeling, the same quiet reminder that I didn't belong in that moment, or maybe in that family at all. And then, without warning, my father put his fork down. The sound echoed louder than it should have. The room went quiet. He looked straight at me, not angry, not emotional, just certain. I don't know what to do with you anymore. My chest tightened. No one moved. No one spoke. You've had years to figure things out. And look at you. There was no shouting, no raised voice. And somehow, that made it worse. You're 17, almost an adult, and still nothing. Every word felt final, like a conclusion he had already reached long ago. Then he said it. The thing that changed everything. I think it's time you leave. For a moment, I thought someone would stop him. My mother, my sister, anyone. I looked at them, waiting, hoping, but no one said a word. My mother kept her eyes on the table. My sister avoided looking at me. And in that silence, everything became clear. This wasn't just his decision, it was theirs too. I wasn't being pushed out. I had already been left behind. I wanted to say something, to defend myself, to argue, to ask why. But the truth was, I already knew, because deep down, A part of me had believed it for years, that I didn't belong there, that I was the problem. So instead of fighting, I just nodded, quietly, because for the first time, there was nothing left to say. That night, I packed everything I had, which wasn't much. A few clothes, some old notebooks, and whatever money I could find. I moved slowly, not because I didn't want to leave, but because part of me still hoped someone would stop me, say something, anything. But the house stayed quiet. No footsteps, no voices, no second thoughts, just silence. When I reached the door, I paused, one last time, waiting, hoping, but nothing happened. So I opened it and stepped outside, into the cold, into the unknown, into a life I wasn't ready for. But as the door closed behind me, something shifted. Beneath the fear, beneath the uncertainty, there was something else, something small, but real, freedom. For the first time in my life, no one was there to define me. And for the first time, I had a choice. The first few weeks were nothing like I expected. I thought leaving would feel like freedom, but it didn't. It felt like falling, fast, uncontrolled, and alone. I had nowhere to go, no plan, no one waiting for me. At first, I stayed with a friend, just for a few nights, then a few more, until I could feel it, that quiet shift from welcome to inconvenience. So I left, before they had to ask. After that, I slept wherever I could. Couches, floors, sometimes places that didn't feel safe at all. There were nights I didn't sleep, not because I couldn't, but because I didn't trust where I was. Money disappeared faster than I thought. Every dollar mattered. Every choice felt heavy. I remember standing outside a small store one night, holding a few coins in my hand, trying to decide if I should eat now or save it for tomorrow. That was my reality. Not dreams, not success, just survival. And there were moments when I almost went back, almost walked to that door and asked for another chance. But something stopped me. Because deep down, I knew nothing had changed. And if I went back, I would still be the same person, still invisible, still not enough. So I did the only thing I could. I worked, anything I could find. Cleaning, carrying boxes, late night shifts, jobs no one wanted. The pay was low, the hours were long. But it was something. At least I wasn't standing still. For a while, I thought that was enough. Just keep going, keep working. But then, something happened. I lost one of the only stable jobs I had. No warning, no backup, just like that. I was back at zero, again. I remember sitting outside after that shift, holding my last paycheck, realizing this couldn't be my life, working endlessly, just to barely survive. That was the moment something changed. Not outside, inside. I stopped thinking about just getting through the day and started asking a different question. How do I get out of this? That question changed everything. I started paying attention to people who were doing better than me, not just what they had, but how they got there, how they thought, how they made decisions, how they used their time. I asked questions, a lot of them. Some people ignored me, some didn't take me seriously, but a few gave me answers, and that was enough. I started learning, not from school, from real life, from observation, from failure. I made mistakes, lost money, trusted the wrong people, started things that didn't work, but I didn't stop, because this time, failure felt different. It wasn't proof that I was worthless. It was feedback, direction, progress. I saved everything I could, cut everything I didn't need, focused on one goal, building something that could grow, even if it started small. And slowly, things began to shift. It didn't happen overnight, but one day, something finally worked. A small win, not life-changing, not impressive to anyone else, but to me, it meant everything, because it was proof that I could create something on my own, that I wasn't stuck, that I wasn't who they said I was. I took that win and built on it, reinvested everything, time, energy, money, and little by little, those small wins stacked up until they weren't small anymore. Months turned into years, and the version of me who left that house started to disappear. I wasn't that kid anymore, the one who stayed quiet, the one who waited for approval. I had changed, not because someone saved me, but because I refused to stay the same. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't just surviving, I was building something real. At some point, everything started to move faster. Not because I got lucky, but because I finally understood what I was doing. I wasn't guessing anymore. I wasn't just working hard. I was working with direction. I knew where to put my time, where to put my energy, and most importantly, where to say no. That changed everything. Because for the first time, I wasn't just earning money, I was creating leverage. I started building things that didn't depend on my time, systems, processes, opportunities that could grow even when I wasn't there. And once that started working, it didn't slow down. The first real breakthrough was something I'll never forget. It wasn't just another small win. It was different. I remember looking at the numbers, thinking there had to be a mistake, because for the first time, I had made more money in a single month than my father used to make in a year. I just sat there, staring at the screen, not celebrating, not reacting, just processing, because that moment meant more than money. It was proof that everything they said about me was wrong, that I wasn't a failure, that I wasn't nothing, that I could build something real from nothing. And once that belief locked in, I couldn't go back. I didn't slow down. I doubled everything, worked smarter, moved faster, took bigger opportunities, and the results started compounding. Years ago, I was counting coins outside a store, trying to decide if I could afford a meal. Now, I had options, real options. I could walk away from anything that didn't serve me. I could choose where I lived, who I worked with, what I built next. I wasn't chasing survival anymore. I was designing my life. And the strangest part, I didn't feel the need to prove anything to anyone. Not my father, not my family, not even the people who once doubted me, because I had already proven it to myself. And that was enough, or at least that's what I thought, until one day my past came back and everything changed again. It didn't happen all at once. It started with a call that I almost didn't answer. I was in the middle of a meeting, focused, in control, living a life I had built on my own. And then my phone lit up, a name I hadn't seen in years, my mother. I stared at the screen, let it ring, watched it stop. Then it rang again, and for a moment, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hesitation, because part of me wanted to ignore it, to let it fade, just like they had done to me. But another part of me, the part that remembered everything, told me to answer. So I did. There was silence at first, then her voice, soft, careful, uncertain, like she didn't know if she still had the right to speak to me. Ethan? I hadn't heard that voice in years. Not like this. Not without distance. Not without judgment. And then she said something that changed everything. We need your help. At first, I didn't respond. Not because I didn't understand, but because I needed to hear it again to make sure it was real. What do you mean? My voice was calm, but inside, everything was moving. Then she told me the business was gone, completely. Bad deals, wrong people. Too much pride to admit things were falling apart. By the time they realized it, it was too late. They were drowning. Debt, legal pressure, deadlines they couldn't meet. And the worst part? They had no one left. The same people they once trusted were gone. The same people who praised them had disappeared. And now, they were running out of time. If nothing changed, they would lose everything. The house, the life they built, everything. And for the first time, they were the ones asking for help from me. When I walked back into that house, it felt smaller than I remembered, quieter, heavier, like the walls themselves had changed. Everything looked the same, but nothing felt the same. My father was sitting at the table, the same place, but not the same man. He looked older, tired, worn down. He didn't say anything at first, just looked at me, and for the first time, I didn't see judgment. I didn't see disappointment. I saw something else, regret. My mother stayed quiet. My sister didn't speak. No one knew what to say, because everything had flipped. The person they once ignored was now the one they needed. And in that moment, I realized something. I wasn't that kid anymore. I wasn't the one trying to be accepted. I was the one in control. For a moment, I thought about everything, every word. Every night I felt invisible. Every time I questioned my worth. And I realized something simple. I didn't need anything from them anymore. Not approval, not validation, not acceptance. I already had what I needed, so I made a decision. I helped them, not because they deserved it, but because I chose who I wanted to be. But when everything was done, I didn't stay. I didn't rebuild what was broken. Some things aren't meant to be fixed. And as I walked away, this time, it wasn't because I was pushed out. It was because I chose to leave. And that made all the difference. Sometimes, the people who treat you like nothing are the ones who force you to become everything. Not because they believed in you, but because they didn't. And maybe that's the hardest truth to accept. That the pain you went through was the thing that built you. I didn't become who I am because of my family. I became who I am in spite of them. So let me ask you something. Be honest. If you were in my position after everything they did, would you have helped them? Or would you have walked away for good? Comment 1 if you would help. Comment 2 if you wouldn't. I'm really curious to see your answer. Because the truth is, not everyone would make the same choice.